Now boarding solo flight with Nicole Anderson. Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. Today we are talking with another really good friend who is guesting on the episode. I'm of course talking about Camille Co, as you can see from the title, and we discuss quite an important topic that sometimes can be a little bit difficult or tough to talk about. Generational trauma. It can also be known as intergenerational trauma, which refers to the transmission of trauma from one generation to another. It's usually something that can affect both families and communities, but sometimes even entire cultures. And to put it a little bit more simple, it's kind of like a ripple effect. And it's the emotional and psychological wounds experienced by one generation that can also then influence and shape the experiences and behaviors of subsequent generations. So, for example, if someone lived through a very traumatic event, whatever that means for them, the impacts of that experience can then be passed down to their children and sometimes even grandchildren or even their partners and so on. And this then can manifest in various ways. It can manifest through people's behaviors, your attitudes, or even physical, like health issues. And I think it's important for us to recognize that it's not just about individual experiences. A lot of these experiences we all experience collectively, and it can really shape an entire group of people or an entire community. The topic on its own feels very daunting to address, but I feel like acknowledging its existence is so crucial. And let's start by saying that Camille and I are definitely not experts on the topic, nor are we medical professionals to be giving advice. We are only sharing our personal experiences and how we have gotten through them or how we are working through our experiences in hopes that perhaps it might help someone out there. I think understanding that these issues are deeply rooted and not just about individual problems can then perhaps help us approach the situation with a little bit more compassion. And I think open communication with your friends, your families, or within your community really is important. And that's why I'm hoping that by putting out this conversation and sharing it with you guys, it will encourage you guys to have more conversations that can perhaps lead towards a healthier, better situation, whatever that means for you. That being said, if you or a loved one are in need of professional or medical attention, please do seek the correct supportive networks to help you, whether it be therapy or counseling. We want to be supportive of everyone on their healing journey, and that to remind everyone that it is not embarrassing to seek help or support along the way. Hi, Kams! Welcome
Hi!
to the pod. Actually, okay, so let's give a brief background. May pinag-usapan na kasi tayo kanina
Oo.
sa pod. Pero,
May na-discover tayong mas interesting na topic.
so take two.
Take two.
Second
Kunwari na lang,
episode.
first time ulit.
Oo.
Hi! Thank you so
Hi!
much for having me.
Of course. Actually, Cams, thank you for supporting the pod because supportive ka rin. Sinabi mo na, alam mo, Nicole, ay, kwento sa kanila yung sermon mo. Ano
Oo,
ba yung
this was our first Vlogger Besties dinner at home. And I was just like, feeling ko manager ako ni Nicole. And I said na, Nicole, you're not utilizing all your skills to like the fullest. I feel
more
like,
pa.
More pa. Like, why don't you do a podcast? I feel like people would love to know what you have in your inside of your brain, because you're such a good speaker, and like I've always said that I think you're the best host
Naks naman.
that we have here, and like so sabi ko, you really have to do a podcast. It makes so much sense.
So ito na nga, as masunurin,
Oo.
at ikaw ang Achi ng group,
Oo.
eto na tayo.
Ito na.
So, bilang Achi, let's talk about family dynamics. Okay, kasi now, you're a mom to Sienna, right? But when we met and when I first, when our friendship started, we were just young girls about the town. You know, we were just painting the town red.
With our Jaeger bombs.
Jaeger bombs and cute boys.
Yes.
And really early curfews.
Oo, early curfews.
Okay. Oh, so umamin na tayo.
Oo.
So, ang story kasi before is that when we would go out, ikaw ang laging pinaka-early ang curfew.
Yes.
Sa
I
atin.
had a curfew until I got married.
Ang lala.
Girl, and I got married at 30, 31.
Oh,
30?
you did?
At 30. 2018.
Oh my God, that's why-
31.
Yeah, I was 25.
Yeah, I got married at 31. I still had a curfew.
Okay. So, okay. Since alam na ni Mommy, kasal ka na, nanay ka na.
Oo, pwede na i-booking lahat ng mga
pwede na tayo umamin.
kasinungalingan.
Okay, so before, when your mom would call you, ano yung style mo to like get...
Everyone is briefed. Everyone, even you,
Tama.
Lorene, my high school friends, everyone is briefed what to say, where we are.
Oo. Meron tayong parang kumbaga, meron tayong briefing bago lumabas.
Oo. Hey, I told my mom I'm with you. Ganyan.
Oo. Kahit na hindi.
Oo.
Tapos, ang ginagawa natin...
Pero wait lang, I would just like to say, I would like to clarify. I'm very far from a rebel, di ba?
True.
Very masunurin talaga ako. But my parents are just really super strict.
Yes.
And I wasn't going out doing bad things. I was just
Actually,
doing
wala nga
normal
Gusto lang natin,
young things.
Kumembot sa super base.
Yeah.
Yan lang yun.
Yeah, I just wanted to live life.
Yes.
Ganon. So yeah, we had to do certain things for me to experience life.
Papasave mo sa amin yung number ng achi mo tsaka
Oo.
ng mom mo sa phone namin para kapag
My sister
tumawag,
always knew the truth wherever
Yes.
I was for safety.
para kapag tumawag, alam namin yung
Yeah.
unknown number na, wala pa kasing Grab nun.
Oo.
So kapag unknown number, minsan nasasagot.
Oo.
Kapag alam namin si
At
mommy,
kahit di ko sila na-brief, alam na nila na, hey, I need to,
sober up
Oo.
real quick.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, because my parents have always been super strict, they're very traditional, very conservative, and that's why, I was brought up in that type of surrounding, and that's why I had to do certain things. Hindi na naman ako yung type na lumalabas every day. I would
Hindi
only go
rin.
out like once a week because that's
Tama.
the only time they would allow me. Like once a week lang. And I can't go out pa weekly.
Oo.
Because
Tama,
my
tama.
mom would be like, kakalabas mo lang last week, lalabas ka na naman
lalabas
this
ka na
week.
naman? Ano to?
Ganon,
Oo,
yeah.
ganon. We've
And I
all
have
heard
to be
that.
like, I would always negotiate with her because she'd always say, I have to go home na by 12. And I'm like, Mom, people are just starting
Tama.
by 12. Like, what am I?
Ano yung latest that you ever got na pumayag?
Parang mga 2 a.m., ganon. Pero like, siya, like, very like, it was a long
Push na yun.
negotiation.
At saka kailangan special moment like birthday.
Oo.
Hindi siya pwedeng Friday night lang.
And weirdly enough, my mom would allow sleepovers more than staying out late. So I would just sleep over. I would sleep over at Lorene's and
Ako
sleep
baliktad,
over.
never. Bawal ang sleepover.
Now that I'm a parent, I realize why. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
doing it. I was just telling Yoni that Sienna's not gonna be doing sleepovers until she's an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, I would assume that a lot of this strictness or tension was coming from your mom, right? And, I mean, I can relate, hello, lalayo pa ba tayo?
Oo.
Diba? Do you feel like, one, where do you think it stems from? Do you think it's because that's how they were raised and so they
Yeah.
expect?
Yeah. I
You
really
think?
think so. I think at the end of the day, I'm still a mom's girl.
Yeah.
I'm a mommy's girl talaga. And I would be, actually, I'm like my mom's defender still. Like, I really understand where she's coming from. Even from before.
Did it only change when you became a mom?
No, it's always been, I always understood where she was coming from.
Okay.
So even if I don't agree with her, like some ways, I don't agree with certain like things that she believes in, I still understood her. Like I always talk to my sister na parang, mom is like this because ganto, ganyan, ganyan. So I think it's because she came from she was raised by my grandmother a certain way.
Yeah.
My grandmother was even stricter.
Was it tipong
Very
tiger
sheltered.
Asian mom? Ganon.
Well, my grandmother is an immigrant, so she's the first generation here.
Okay.
So I think that's why she's also very strict because this is a foreign country for her,
True,
diba?
you never know.
Yeah,
diba?
yeah.
Okay.
So this is a foreign country for her, so it's a very different. She also ran around in different circles because she's an immigrant, and so she had very strict set of rules for her kids, and I think that's what my mom grew up with. So yung values niya dun yun nanggaling. So I think that's why, and also she was also with other people who grew up with parents like her parents, so they all thought alike. So she was never really introduced to other ways of thinking.
Yes.
And so she always thought that, okay, this is how you're supposed to behave, this is how you're supposed to think, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's why she also brought me up a certain way, because that's how she was brought up. She didn't know anything else other than that.
Yeah.
And I was just fortunate to be exposed to different things more than her. So I think that's really the reason why I've always understood where she was coming from.
Do you think it was difficult for her because she was so strict? Lalabas ka nga, Makati nga lang, strict na siya. What more yung mga out-of-town trips na natin?
My mom has very weird, like, okay siya sa out of town.
Bawal ka sa Makati, pero Singapore pwede.
Bawal ako bawal ako mag-malling, ganyan.
Oh.
I remember when I was a kid, bawal na ako mag-sleepover actually when I was a kid pa.
Oh.
They can just sleep over at our house.
Same.
And then, pag malling, kailangan, like, sino kasama mo, lahat, nakalista. Even until we're old, she tried to do that. Even until we're older na. Even to my brother, he would say, who are you with? Give me the number. Give me everything. And my brother would be like, and I would try to save my brother, Ma, he's a guy. Nakakahiya if his mom is like calling the friends na, are you with my son? Mami, wag na. So with us also, like, that's why she has all your numbers, because she needs everyone's numbers.
Tama.
And that's why I would never be able to ride other people's cars. Kailangan sariling driver.
That's right.
She didn't trust anyone. My mom is, yun talaga yung mommy ko. Trust no one.
Okay.
But I also think it's because she's been burned a lot before.
You know, I'm like, now I'm hearing this, I can relate.
Ayan na nga! Kaya I always say na parang, Nicole, I understand, you're like a mom.
Why is that? I'm really not. I'm changing my branding. But it's true. You only realized that like 2 weeks ago.
Recently, and I've been friends with you for so long. And I'm like, now I understand why Nicole says this and says that, and why she does this and does that, because she's just a mom.
Yeah.
Without a child.
Yeah. I think it's because I've had to fend for myself a lot.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And yun na nga. But I think kasi...
And maybe it's because no one's looking out for you, so you feel like you need to look out for everyone else.
Girl.
Bayaran mo ako sa therapy.
Girl. Alam mo, totoo yan.
Yeah.
Wala ngang nag-look out for me. So that's why ako yung nag-aano sa lahat. Oh, don't forget your water bottle. Don't forget your
Maybe
cell phone.
because secretly you wish someone...
Ay, iiyak na ako. Ayun na. Joke lang. No, it's true.
Yeah.
I think kasi, but you know what it is? I think it's no shade to how my parents raised me, because I think...
Because alam mo, you wouldn't turn out the way you are if it wasn't for how they raised you.
Totoo din naman.
Yeah.
Pero I think talaga, the older we get and the more struggles we go through in life, I think the more we understand where our parents are coming from.
Yeah.
And I think the difficulty with my dynamic with my mom, I think it was also hard for her because she was a single mom. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how any single moms do it. Like, I think of... Like, obviously, I froze my eggs, right? And there are times I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just sperm donor and I'll do it on my own. But I'm like, and then I think about my childhood and I'm like, that was so difficult for my mom. Kaya ko ba mag-isa to do that? And so now, I don't take it against her in the way she would handle certain situations because wala siyang teammate, diba? So parang also, I think I was left to fend for myself a lot because sino kikita ng pera? Sino magbabayad ng tuition ko? Diba? So she has to go out to work. Yeah. So when she's out working, mag-isa ako sa bahay. And I think that's also why I became so independent. Kasi nasanay ako mag-isa. So, yun na nga. I think that the older we get, the more we realize na, ganun pala.
And I think that's also why I'm able to maintain a healthy relationship with my mom. Even though there are a lot of things that I don't agree with her, kasi I understand where she's coming from, and that's why there's zero resentment.
Okay, but so here's my thing, right? I know we have a lot of listeners. I'm sure a big chunk are young girls, and I'm sure some of them are also going through similar things that we went through, right? Like maybe we're like, our parents don't understand us, or like our moms are so strict or whatever. Like, what would you say to them now, knowing what you know, but also now you're a mom?
Diba? alam mo, to be honest, if you don't feel supported at home, I think what got me through it, and again, I feel like I'm painting my parents as like these like super like rar.
It's not even, girl, wala ka pa nga na-share.
I feel
Curfew
like
lang ang na-share mo.
I'm just I'm being cautious. Narinig ko si mommy sa likod ko.
Ayan na. See?
Yung takot lumalabas.
I know.
I think that, to be honest, there was a lot of like emotion. I got really, really like a lot of emotional times talaga, especially during my high school days. Because my mom, she has a very sharp tongue. My
Yes.
parents, actually, they have a very sharp tongue. They're like the classic Asians na no emotions.
And
they don't say
tatagos.
I love you.
Ganon.
Hindi sila ma-hug, hindi sila ma-ano. Tapos they're like very disciplinarians and like they're the classic ganong Asian parents talaga. Their words are so sharp. So I would say is that, practically speaking, I feel like I was able to get over it, or I get through it, because I found a support system outside of my family, my
Okay.
home. Gets mo? Yung parang you find your family,
Your friends.
your chosen family.
Yes.
And that's why I'm so thankful to my friends who I grew up with, because I feel that that's where I got the support. And so I never really felt that I was going through it alone. I never felt that, I always had someone that I can talk to and to run to, and that really helped a lot. So I think if you're going through something that's really heavy with your parents, then it really helps if you have a support system that you trust and who understands you, that you can run to and you can like pour your heart out to. And then also find avenues of like escape. I think that's why I also like loved performing in school, because that meant that I stayed longer in school. I had a lot of rehearsals.
Yun
So,
yung
yeah.
escape mo.
Oo.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's how. Ikaw, ano yung advice mo?
Ako kasi, no, I agree. For me, and that's why alam mong attached ako sa friends ko. Because for me, my friends are my family.
Yeah.
Kasi wala rin naman ako siblings
Yeah.
growing up. 'Di ba? So, I think talaga you really need to find your tribe that you can lean on. Lalo-lalo na ako, 'di ba, lumayas pa ako ng bahay. Meron pa tayong ganung moments na,
Oo.
I'm out of here!
Yeah. I've never.
Never.
I'm such a good girl. Like, never talaga.
For me rin kasi, kaya
Hindi ko-
ako nag-ano,
Takot na takot ako sa parents ko na I would never, like, I'm so scared of them. Ganon.
iba kasi yung fear ko.
Oo.
Kaya ako, yung fear ko, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, yeah,
Ganon. Pero for me kasi, I think, mas malakas yung loob ko na lumayas ganyan is because yun nga, na tinawagan ko yung friends ko, okay, can I sleep on your couch muna? Nag-couch surfing ako, take turns sila,
Yeah.
ganyan. So, I'm not saying, guys, I'm
Gawin
not saying,
nyo to.
uy, wag niyong gawin yun, ha?
I think it's a case-to-case basis.
What I'm saying is, it helps to have that
An
support
escape,
system,
yeah.
and that escape. Pero kasi also, don't stay in toxic situations. The reason I had to leave was because I was in a toxic situation.
And that's so rare for someone that young to be brave enough to first identify the toxic situation, and to get yourself out of the toxic situation, because I would have never been that brave.
I think that also comes from the attitude that I got from my dad's side of the family, because I think the Scandic way, or like, I'm sure you also see this with Yoni, like, they're very independent from a very young age.
Yeah. And they
Diba?
treat you like your own person na talaga.
Yes.
That's something I got so shocked with.
Yun na nga. So parang when I would call my dad internationally crying, like, I can't live like this, I can't do this anymore, ganyan, he goes, so
Simple
leave.
yung solution sa kanila.
Di mo
Sa atin
kaya?
here,
Alis.
Yeah.
Oo, ganun.
Sa atin here, like, that's why when I first stayed with Yoni's parents, I got so shocked na parang, my God, they're knocking on our door. Like, we're staying in their room and they're knocking. Like, as simple as just respecting our space, even
They're
though
like,
it's their
what is-
home.
what is
Like, what
boundaries?
is this?
Yeah.
Because in my house, like, that would never happen. You live in my home, I open the door anytime I want. I'm gonna go inside your room anytime I want. I don't care what you're doing, I will go inside.
Kasi bahay ko to.
Oo, bahay ko to.
Tama.
My house, my rules. My mom even had like a magnet na sobrang laki na binili niya from the States. I remember this.
Na nakapaskil? Para wag niyong
My house,
makalimutan.
my rules. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was such a like wonder to me, and I was like telling him, ever since like your parents have been, sabi niya, yeah, they would knock on our doors all the time before they go in. It was such a revelation.
Okay, so naman now, what opened your eyes na pwede palang ibahin. Kasi eventually,
Yeah.
may curfew ka nga until you got married.
Yeah.
So, when you got married, kinaya ba nila natitira ka na sa ibang bahay with your asawa?
Yeah, it was a complete change when I got married. It's a very Chinese thinking kasi.
Na
Now,
what?
when you're a woman, that's how you're given away to the
Enlighten me.
So if Chinese kasi, they believe that, if you're their son and you're getting married, we're basically accepting the woman into the family. So if it's a really traditional conservative family, they expect the woman to be working in the business. They expect the woman to be like helping the mom. But if you're the woman who's getting married away, we're basically giving you away.
So, as the woman,
I'm being
plus
given
one
away.
ka.
Oo.
Yun yung role mo.
So
Okay.
with us, I think when I grew older, I slowly learned how to set my boundaries and how, like, all this time people would tell me that you should train your parents. Diba? That's a thing
Yeah.
that people say, not train your parents. Which, like, my friends have been doing since we were in high school. Like, if they're not happy, they would train their parents to eventually accept their ways.
Yes.
I was never brave enough to do that. I was always too scared.
Okay. Wait, explain muna to the people listening. Ano yung train your parents? Sample.
Like, for example, one of my friends before, she had very strict parents as well.
Okay.
Never lang siya nakinig. Nagrebelde siya.
Wala kayong magagawa.
So, yung mom, instead of like, sabi niya, okay, I'd rather that you tell me where you are and where you're going kaysa nagre-rebelde ka at tumatakas. So, sige, I'll just allow you to go out. Mga ganyan. Or,
so, parang...
Or like my sister.
Oh, okay.
My mom kasi would require us to always message her where we are, when we've landed, when we've gone here to there. Like, kailangan may report
Reporting.
Oo. Which I always followed to the
Okay.
T. My sister never did. So, my mom never expected her to do that because she never did. Another example. Ang daming hinanakit. Another example. Out of us 3 siblings, I've always been the one who's in the honor roll. Kasi nga, studios, talagang like model student, ganyan.
Okay.
The one time that I got a lower grade, I was crying so much. I was like, what will mommy say? Like, hindi ako magiging top of the class. Lala, I was crying. Like, what will my parents say? My brother said, ikaw yan, kasalanan mo yan. Sinanay mo sila na honor student ka lagi.
Sinet mo yung bar.
Tina mo ako. Basta
Eto
pumasa lang, happy na
babalik
sila.
tayo, set the bar low.
Yeah. Yeah, so parang that's what they're saying, like, train your parents, right? So when I was older na, that's when I slowly realized, actually, nagawa ko lang siya when I was already married, out of the house na. Doon lang ako nagka-guts
Okay.
to train my parents. So yun, I would do things that like, now I don't always tell them, they don't know na where I go. Like, I would tell them, but I wouldn't, ano ba to? Explain ko.
Oh, sige, explain mo.
So when we go abroad, my mom would always say na, which I understand. I would love that also when I have a kid.
Oh.
Now, when you fly out, message me. Like, when you're boarding na, when you fly, when you've
You land.
landed, when you got to the hotel, message me. So, when I was younger, every time I forget to do that, my mom would be calling me, mad at me, shouting at me na
Panic
sa phone.
na.
Oo, narinig mo na, di ba?
Oo,
Kung paano.
tama. At saka, wait lang, shout out to your mama. Kahit ang layo ko sa'yo, rinig ko siya. Na hindi siya naka-speaker.
Oo, ganun kalakas yung feelings.
Okay.
So, because of that, when I got married, yun yung one of the things that I really wanted to rebel. Na parang, now I won't do it. Like, I won't.
I'm my own woman.
Oo, na parang, so, nung other day lang, she was like, making me sermon nga na saying, na parang, ikaw, porket kasal ka na, hindi ibig sabihin na you're not gonna tell me where you're going, blah, blah, blah. Like, how would I know if you're safe, blah, blah. So, I really told her, Mom, this is your fault eh. Because you made it such a traumatic experience for me that now I'd rather just not let you know. So that if I forget or if I remember, you wouldn't like, it won't be a big deal to you. Kasi pag sinanay kita na every single time na I go, I would say, the one time na I forget, you're again gonna get mad at me.
Babalik tayo sa dati.
Oo.
Okay.
So I feel like dun ko na rin nakita yung merits of like how Yoni's parents are doing it. Parang he's doing it kasi he's doing it voluntarily.
Yes.
Diba? Parang sometimes kasi when you're...
Wag mong pilitin.
Oo.
Okay.
So because it was such a negative experience for me, I really didn't wanna, yun yung rebel ko na parang I'm taking my power back. Parang ganon.
So, okay, so now naman that you're the mom, what, first of all, I'm sure maraming hormones yan, maraming revelations as Sienna is still in your stomach na parang, this time it's my turn.
Yeah.
What standard am I setting? What was that train of thought like for you?
I remember, let's go back to pre-Sienna. I
Okay.
remember this, sinabi ko rin to sa'yo eh.
Oo, tama.
We had this conversation before and I remember I got so triggered parang we were just talking blogger besties, and then we were saying na, who do you think is gonna be the strictest mom?
Oh, lahat ikaw!
Naalala ko, ikaw yung pinaka-adaman. Cams, ikaw yun. And I got so triggered.
Naalala ko yan, na-trigger ka talaga.
Na-trigger talaga ako. Like, as in, parang napikon ako ganong level. Like, sabi ko talaga, no, it's not gonna be me.
I remember with feelings.
Oh, sabi ko, it's not gonna be me. I have that type of parent. So why would I be doing that to my kid? So I was so adamant talaga na I'm gonna be like, I love my parents, thankful for how they raised me, but I'm gonna do it differently because it's not how I'm supposed to do it. And now that I'm with Sienna, I was telling Yoni na grabe, I always thought that, okay, yeah, I've had like, mga dramatic moments with my parents, much like everyone, normal. But I never really counted it as such a huge thing. But now that I'm a mom, and I was like, every time I would read, like, okay, how you're supposed to parent, like, I would be slowly planning how I would be as a parent to Sienna. I was telling Yoni na, parang I have generational trauma pala.
Yeah.
I never realized it until I became a parent. Yeah. Na parang, ang dami ko palang like, really like, no, I would never do that to Sienna. No, this is okay, this is not okay. This is okay, this is not okay.
Yeah.
Doon ko na realize I have such strong feelings pala about how I was raised and how I'm gonna be doing it for the next generation. And like, it's so funny to think about it because, diba, it's so weird how I never realized it.
Yeah.
I just realized it now. Now, oh my gosh, I have generational trauma pala. I never knew.
And there are certain things like that now you're aware that trigger you.
Yes.
Before, hindi mo alam magre-react ka lang, iiyak ka lang.
Yeah, and
or
you don't know why.
Ka. Yeah. Pero now, parang na-identify mo, naalala ko, nasa elevator tayo ng condo here. Remember, and we were going down, and then you said, I really can't take it anymore when people do this.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do that, I realize that stems from my trauma from my childhood, so I can't put up with it.
Yeah. Like as simple as, for example, I'm so particular with the language that Sienna hears.
Oh, okay.
Because language was such a strong thing in my household.
Masakit, sabi mo. Okay.
So I'm so particular with the language that Sienna hears. I'm also so particular with the tone. No one shouts at my house.
I know. I didn't say it, pero yun na nga.
No one shouts.
Bawal mag-shout.
Because in my old household, everyone shouts.
Yeah.
And it triggers me. As in, if I am in a mall and I hear someone shouting, even if they're not fighting, I hear someone shouting, I get so like...
No, I'm the same.
Yeah. Because I hear shouts all the time.
Yeah.
Naiiyak naman ako isipin yun.
Okay
We don't have a landline at home.
In your house?
Because the simple like ring of a landline triggers me.
It really like causes anxiety. Even for a split second, you're like, there's that fear, and then you have to self-soothe.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, it's actually not
a
cause of concern.
Because the phone was the most powerful thing my mom had.
Ayun yung binabato niya.
No, I mean, she would always call and it was always a...
call. Ako kasi...
Asigaw. Sa'yo, binabato ba?
Lumabas. Binabato kasi sa akin.
Sa akin kasi every time it rings, I'm so scared because sermon na naman yun, or did I do something wrong, or like, so now even until now, if I hear a normal landline ring, syempre hindi yung ganito, yung normal landline ring, I'd be so nervous.
It's like a Pavlovian response for both of us.
Please
diba?
describe.
Diba kasi the Pavlov's dog experiment is...
I don't know that.
You don't know that?
No.
So Pavlov had this experiment with dogs before where, if I'm not mistaken, he would ring a bell every time
Parang classic
to
conditioning.
feed the dogs. Yes, he ring the bell, feed the dog. Ring the bell, feed the dog. Eventually, the dogs associated the ringing of the bell with the food. So after, he would ring the bell without giving the food, and then the dogs immediately would start salivating because it would trigger a response, a physical manifestation of that expectation, that the dogs would start salivating, expecting the food even if there was no food.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening here with us today.
Yes. Yeah. Today. Yeah, agreed.
Yun.
Very much.
So I think that's one thing I noticed nga, that you try to keep your house and your space very calm.
Peace, yeah.
Peaceful.
Yes.
What
Yes.
else? What else are you trying to change now that you're a mom to Sienna, aside from language and tone and volume?
Ano ba? Bigla ko na blackout.
What about when times, kasi also, Sienna will also try to push her boundaries. She's also gonna try to see what she can get away with.
Oh, especially
and
at this age.
magkakaumpugan din kayo. She's also, at darating din siya sa age na pag
Na,
teenager,
oo.
no mom, I don't agree.
Now kasi I'm
Ganyan.
still her favorite person.
Oo. So, paano kapag hindi na kayo nagkikita eye to eye? So, matitrigger ka na
Alam mo,
kasi...
I'm so open to the fact that I won't be perfect. I'm open to that.
Okay.
I'm just here to try my best to be an improved version, you know?
Uh-uh.
I'm just here to one thing that I know I would be doing is I would apologize when I'm wrong. Because
What's that like?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I think that's one of the things that I always say also na I only learned to apologize because of my friends who I grew up with. Because I didn't learn it at home because no one apologized at home.
Me also.
It was always the kids who had to apologize, whether you think you're wrong or not, whether
Yeah.
you've learned your lesson or not, you need to apologize because you're the kid and I'm the parent, I'm always right. That was how it was in my
Wait,
house.
same, yeah.
So-
or any, not even parent, basta older.
Yeah, I'm right.
They're
you're
right.
wrong.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't want to carry with us. I want my child to know that I can acknowledge when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that I'm sorry because I want her to be someone who would grow up to know how to say sorry, how to apologize, how to recognize when you're in the wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the main things I want to just really keep in my mind. Parang, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Mga ganon.
Wait, so that's funny you mentioned that because I remember specifically a phone call I had with my dad. And because my dad wasn't in the household growing up, right? I was with my mom. So I mean, he was there sometimes, but it wasn't like an everyday life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was a time I was like talking to my dad and then parang he was scolding me for using parang the grammar I used was wrong or something to that, parang mali, basta may mali akong ginawa. And he said, mahal na tuition mo, ganun, tas hindi mo alam, parang to that effect. But in English, kasi Swedish siya. And then I was like, pero in my heart, alam ko tama ako eh. Pinaglaban ko. Sabi ko, hindi tama ako. Sabi niya, hindi mali ka. Sabi ko, whatever, define, di mali. Diba? Kasi sila yung parents. And eventually, like 2 days later or something, he called me out of nowhere. Nakalimutan ko na yung argument.
Oo.
Called me, I think I was in the mall or something. And he goes, hey, I just looked into that lalala. Like, and like parang ginugol niya or inaral niya or something. And he goes, I realized I was wrong pala. Sabi niya, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Isn't it so
But,
nice?
Girl, tumatak yun. That's been what? Like 20 years ago. And tumatak talaga siya because in my mind, I was like, pwede pala magkamali yung parents ko. But girl, I ran with that. I heard it and I was
She
like...
printed it on the shirt. My dad
yeah.
said I'm right.
Yeah, and I ran with it because I was like, I can be right and I know when I'm right. Pero iba yung view as my mom's Kastila yung dad, 'di ba? So with her she was like hindi and I was like also hindi. So eventually yun na-realize ko, yun din. I didn't want to do it to other people. And then I also I think I brought it into one of my past relationships long time ago na eto na nga, since we like feedback, binalikan ko. Sabi ko, hey, since, I'm gonna start dating other people, ganyan, like, I wanna learn. No, pero cool na kami. Sabi ko, what didn't you like that I did in the past relationship so that I don't bring it into the next one?
Parang customer service lang, after sales call.
Ganon. Nag-after sales call ako. Tapos sabi niya, I didn't like that it was so hard to show you when you were wrong. Or ayaw mong tanggapin kapag mali ka. The moment he said that, into my next relationship, every time the guy like showed me, kailangan may proof naman. Hindi naman pwedeng, wala namang gaslighting. Kailangan may proof ng konti. Pag na-proof na, mali nga ako, you're right, I'm sorry. Immediately, no more questions, di na papahabain, you're right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, I like that we're learning
Yeah.
from, you know what kasi,
and
there's
not
a way,
repeating the same mistakes.
pero not always, di rin tayo perfect.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have to be extra aware. And it's good to be aware. That's why I always say that the best people are the most self-aware people.
Yes.
Because you're these are the people that know how to improve.
But okay, here's the thing kasi, some people, they think na hindi talaga sila mali or walang self-awareness. Anong advice bibigay mo sa ganon? Or parang, how can you learn? Kasi us, it took time, right? Nabuntis ka sa pandemic, dun mo na-realize and you got time away from your family. But how about the people who walang character development, walang
Because they're
awareness?
so stuck in that same environment.
Oo, paano? Ako ask my friends kasi like kayo, 'di ba nung sa Bachelorette ni Cams, ni Lo, my tone, even if I'm just saying ang init sa labas, it sounds aggressive. You know, ang init sa labas. And you're like, are you mad? You know? But it's just my tone. And then remember I asked you, masarap ba yan?
But it's not just as simple as asking your friends. It should be how willing you are to listen to what your friends have to say. Yun eh. That's why it's so hard to give advice to these people, because if you're not willing to see that there's something to change, then we can say everything and you still won't change, because at the end of the day, you still think na, hindi. Iba na, mali kayo, di ba? Actually, ang better na bigyan ng advice is the people who are dealing with people, are di ba? The people who are dealing with these people who are so difficult.
Meron din tayong mga friends na perfect sila.
Never mali, di ba? So, it also happens like with how you deal with your parents, di ba? Ganun din. That's why this is something that I learned as I grew up, and how to keep my peace in a household that was so like, ganun.
Paano?
I would always tell like my sister, she's the closest one to me, and she's the type, because she's an Aries, and you know she just can't stop caring.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
She cares too much.
Ganun ba pag Aries?
Yeah,
okay.
so I told her na, you know, you don't always have to be right.
Okay.
Sinabi mo? Sabi ko, it's not important for the other person to know you're right. If they think they're right,
kailangan patunayan
if they think they're right and you know this person won't change and won't listen to you, why are you wasting your energy trying to correct someone who will just rattle you because they're so hard to talk to?
Eto na nga tayo sa 2 + 2 = 5. Okay.
Okay. Ganun.
Congrats.
If you think you're right, then okay. I don't need to prove to you that you're wrong. So I'll just say okay.
Tama.
Yeah, it also like helps you keep your peace, right?
So parang accept people for who they are na.
Yeah, so it's the same with with my parents also when I was growing up, and like yung mga days na gusto mo mag-rebel, which I never did. Like I would just accept, you know what, they're older na. They're not gonna change. This is how they were raised. This is what they believe in. It's not gonna change. So just accept it. That's how they are. No need to fight it, because you're just creating more chaos. You know?
True. So, ako naman, yung style ko, kasi you know I'm very directang tao. For me kasi, with my friends, my family, but mostly with my family, when we don't see eye to eye on things, parang now I just say, let's just agree to disagree. Wag na natin pahabain pa, kasi we know where this can go.
Yeah.
Diba? So parang
you have to choose your battles.
Choose your battles.
You have to choose your battles. I mean, if it's clearly not going anywhere, why even start?
Yeah.
Why start the battle?
I think yun nga, parang one, you can train your parents, like you said. Pero again, choose your training. Kasi you can't train everything.
Yeah.
You can't train like lahat ng aspect.
True.
Kung ang gusto mo ipaglaban yung texting when you land, and yun lang yung ipaglaban mo. 'Di ba? Wag na yung tawag, wag na yung curfew. So pili ka.
Yeah. Like with me, my parents didn't want me to go into fashion blogging. But I knew there would be the light at the end of the tunnel. At the end of the day, Chinese rin sila.
Mommy, look at me now.
As long as they see the bank account, they're fine. Ganon sila. So slowly but surely, and alam ko na kaya ko ipaglaban si Yoni, even though, you know, it's traditionally getting married to someone who's not from the same background, they would be against. But slowly but surely, able to climb the Great Wall of China, and here we are. So you choose your battles.
Okay. So wait, my question naman for you. Well, since na-bring up mo yung Yoni, paano mo na-choose na ipaglalaban mo si Yoni? Kasi hindi siya traditional. He's not Chinese. He's not from the Philippines.
Yes.
Like,
and
super
even harder
foreign
to explain to him that, hi, I still have a curfew.
Yeah. So, how do you my gosh, nakakahiya sa pa. How did you know that of all the guys, Yoni would be the one that you would fight for? Parang movie.
I think I was also I met Yoni at the right time.
True.
I met Yoni at the right time. And that's why when I met him, I was single for like 4 or 5 years before I met him. So I was like, I'm not gonna dilly-dally. I'm not gonna present to you such a nice like butterflies, unicorn situation. You know, I'm gonna let you know what you're getting into.
Wait, that's so true because
Yeah.
guys, I would read Camille's texts to Yoni at the start and I'm like, walang
knows.
kalambing-lambing. She
He
was
knows.
like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
This is the situation. If you're gonna meet my parents, it's gonna be like this.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna go, I have to go home at this.
Yeah.
Like super
He knew, like
laid
he knew.
all your cards
Yes, like he knows that my parents don't know that we're dating still. I have a curfew. And by the time they know, you would need to court me. You would need to come to the house every week because that's what my parents expect.
Yeah.
So if this is not something you can do, then tell me now.
Pinaglaban din niya.
Oo, and he was like, this girl is worth it. Sige nga. So like, he didn't know how to court. I mean, there's no such thing as
I know,
courtship
yun
in
nga
Europe.
eh. So are you the type who's like, buy me these flowers and then bring it to the house?
No, he was like, am I supposed to bring something to your house when I am like, yeah, maybe something small to my parents. It would be a nice token, like nice gesture for
Ay, hindi
them.
mo ginaguide. Kasi
so
kung
girl,
ako yun, like, punta ka sa Dex, bilhin mo tong siomay na to. Alam mo yung
not that
ganon.
specific. So, he messaged there's this one boyfriend in our barkada who's like, favorite ng lahat ng parents because he's so well trained by his parents.
Okay.
So he asked him like, what should I bring? Sabi niya, bring fruits. Okay, so he told him to go to this super Chinese fruit store where all the Chinese titas go to buy their super yummy fruits. He came to the house with this fruit basket with this red wrapper
Na may
pan.
gold or
Oh, yung
something.
mukhang pang-offertory na gano'n.
Oo. Ay,
So yeah, so he
magaling.
was really prepared. So yeah.
Nag-research din siya.
And he didn't get fazed with anything my parents said to him because they're so frank. So they really tried to like, let him know that, this is gonna be a hard time for you. But he really still...
you wanna date our daughter.
Oo.
Subukan mo. Ganon.
Yeah.
Tapos sinabi niya, watch me. Ganon.
Sabi niya, challenge accepted.
Yun na nga. Pero in the end, happy ending naman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. What I think, hopefully what people get from this episode is the character development.
Oo. I mean, there's always a way for you to grow out of certain environments. You're not stuck in the
Yeah.
environment you're put in. As long as you're self-aware and you know how to get yourself out of it. People always say na, how come you're so different from I love my family. Again, they're great people.
Yeah.
But I am, at the end of the day, very different from my family.
You are.
I am. And it's because I became aware of the situation, I guess, and I surrounded myself with other-minded people than the way yung current environment ko.
I think you also you explored different groups and you put yourself in scenarios where you wouldn't necessarily be with just like-minded people.
Yeah.
You left your bubble.
I left my bubble.
Yun. You left
Although
your
Yoni
bubble.
would say, we're all in a bubble.
Yes.
We're all stuck in our bubble.
We still have a bubble.
Yeah.
But you left that smaller bubble
Yeah.
to go see what else is out there. And in that exploration, you discovered, wait a minute, there's actually other ways to do things.
Yeah, I discovered how to be my own person outside of the person I was being molded as.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if you're in that stage where you're just about to step out or you're stepping out and it's unfamiliar territory and it's scary, it's intimidating, right? It
Yeah.
can be scary, but hopefully these stories will reassure you that there's joy in the unknown. Diba?
Yeah.
Ang wise natin.
And there's always a reason for everything.
True.
I feel there's always a reason for everything.
Even if mahirap now, I
Yeah.
think now kasi girl,
There's
we can
something
look
to
back
learn
and
from.
we can laugh
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Pero girl, were we crying? Ako, girl.
Oo.
Ano na ako?
Ang wish ko lang is if you're going through that, I hope that you grow out of it with zero resentment.
Yes. And also more self-awareness or take this time
To learn.
to have that self-awareness so that when the triggers come, because it still comes for us,
Yes.
right? Like yung phone, like yung pag may sumisigaw, ganyan.
Mm-hmm.
When those triggers come, it's easy for us to deal with it.
Yeah.
Hindi na nasisira yung buong araw, tapos nadadala natin sa jowa natin or sa asawa natin or sa kids, 'di ba? Parang, this is me, this is my problem, this is my baggage, I'm gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
'Di ba?
And keep yourself in check, I think. Keep yourself in check, always.
And then pag nakagraduate na kayo doon, also, ask your friends for feedback para may
After sales
after
survey.
sales survey din kayo. Kasi girl, nakakatulong din naman siya. Because
Yeah.
'di ba like konting, is it me? Am I the drama?
Am I the problem?
Oo, 'di ba? Ika nga ni Taylor Swift, kung ayaw niyo makinig sa amin, kay
Oo.
Taylor Swift kayo
Oo.
makinig. 'Di ba? Pati siya aminado siya yung problem.
Yeah.
Minsan kasi, wait, before we end, one girl in our group, sabi niya, nag-open up siya, parang, ganyan, may jowa, sabi ko, alam mo, check muna kasi parang narcissistic ano yan, or parang it sounds like gaslighting, ganyan. Sabi ko, but don't take my word for it because hello, I'm not a therapist, but do your research, look into it. Tapos nung na-realize yun, nung binasa niya, parang lahat ng symptoms, siya, nag-check sa kanya. Tapos sabi niya, ay, ako pala yung problem. So, konting research din.
Magandang character development yun, at least.
Oo.
Seeing that you're the problem.
Pero kasi, sinabihan din siya ng friend niya. Sinabi ko na, check mo. 'Di ba? So, yun. I think my biggest takeaway from this is, one, yun nga, take the time to assess where the issue is coming from. Is it you? Is it your family? Is it the people around you? And also to seek out people who you can lean on in times of difficulty.
Yeah.
But also, I like what you said Gusto ko yung break the cycle.
Break the cycle.
Kasi parang kung natuto ka na, ba't mo pa uulitin?
Yeah.
Kasi some people, nagbabaon sila ng hinanakit na sinasabi nila, ako pinagdaanan ko to, so dapat ikaw rin.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Kung ako nag-curfew, ikaw rin. Kung ako nasigawan or kung ako yung upakan din kita. 'Di ba? So ano yung sa'yo?
I think it helps to not keep any resentments, and the only way for you to do that is try to understand why the situation is and what made the person the way they are. And the clearer that is to you, the more that you understand it, then the more that parang mas marami ka ring bala to not repeat the cycle, because then you'd understand what not to do, how to not become the person you don't want to become. And two, don't be afraid to get to know yourself. Because I feel like when you grow in certain environments, it's hard for you to look into yourself. You don't want to face your demons and you don't want to face the reality.
Because it's hard. It's tough. Yeah.
So I think if you want to improve situations, then you shouldn't be afraid to look into yourself. Because it is a scary thing. It's so scary to get to know yourself. But once you get to know yourself, there's no way but up, because that's how you improve. That's how you become self-aware. And that's how you just become the person you want to be.
Ayan
The end. Thank you so much.
And with
Vote
that,
for me.
Camille Co for the next election.
Truly.
Diba? Thank you so much, Cams, for
Thank you so much.
imparting so much wisdom. You know what? Ayaw pa rin. Meron pa rin. No, pero kasi the reason why I even did this, and one of my first few episodes, I talked about this, is that yes, it's called solo flight because, I'm going through life alone, and, a lot of us are. But I wanted people to have this avenue to see who the people I lean on are and where I get my strength from. Because I understand that not everyone has that. And I'm hoping that with, these conversations that we have with our friends, with Chris, with you, with everyone, right? That somehow they can also feel that even virtually, diba, they're not on this solo flight alone.
Ganda ng ending.
Is there anything you want to promote before we go?
No. Just follow me at It's Camille Co. ITS Camille Co. That's it.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Cam.
Thank you.
Bye.